let's talk about Amy Eskridge. She is put in there a lot. And she is the one that most lends to the conspiratorial aspect of it on the surface.
Mm-hmm. So let's hit those surface details first.
Yes. So Amy Eskridge was the daughter of a NASA researcher. She died by suicide at the age of 34. She worked on anti-gravity, and she co-founded the Institute for Exotic Science, which was dedicated to research that big scientific institutions would not deal with, like anti-gravity research.
Is that all that would like focus in? I'm just curious if there's any other examples of
basically fringe science and alternative science. Things that people would laugh off and be like, that's not something we'll look into. Anti-gravity, nuclear, like
things you're not going to get funding
free
for.
energy. Yes, you're not going to write a paper how close you are to discovering free energy, because it's one of those things where it's like, that's not possible. We've poured our brains into this already.
I don't know how much of it's not possible or how much of it's not profitable, but
we'll move on. That's part of the conspiracy theory we were talking about. So let's go ahead, though.
So I have seen it on multiple places where she is mentioned as a NASA researcher or NASA linked or NASA affiliated. So let's just be clear on this. There is absolutely zero evidence that Amy Eskridge had any connection to NASA other than her father.
Right. From what I understand, she didn't even have a degree in a scientific field.
No, so according to her obituary, which you have, she dual majored in chemistry and biology, not fields at all related to anti-gravity or anything like that. It said she was a master of various subjects.
Right. A brilliant young woman.
It doesn't say if she completed her bachelor's degree. It said she dual majored.
She grew up with, her dad worked in Huntsville and with NASA there in Rocket City. But to quote the Atlantic, and this is not from me or us. I want to be clear. I would never be this mean, but Daniel N. Engber of the Atlantic described her like this. Amy Eskridge was a scientist only in the way that a sub-ray preacher is a theologian.
I feel like if I was smarter, that would be a brutal roast.
Whatever fame she had derived from science was her claiming that her father, a former NASA propulsion engineer, had discovered the secret of anti-gravity. She claimed that she would go public with that information and then became very paranoid that someone was out to get her.
There is video of her interviews and stuff she's done. She is very obviously, I'm not going to say what, it would just be speculation, but she's clearly under the influence of something during those interviews.
Is it under the influence of something, or is it schizophrenia-like?
I'm not comfortable speculating on whether it's drug issues or mental health issues. Certain types of drugs can present the same way as mental health issues and vice versa. It can be a combination of both.
The stuff with the a secret that no one else can know and that people are after you is typical, like, textbook paranoid schizo stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this a bit more about what the thing she said. But again, she had claimed that her father had discovered the secret to anti-gravity while working for NASA, and for some reason NASA would spend millions on research that they then wouldn't use, which is not a logical thing.
Yeah, you're poking holes in the conspiracy already.
So she claimed she was being shot with a pain ray. Her family did confirm that she suffered from chronic pain. She claimed to have been burned by some kind of heat ray.
Right. These were released in text messages. We'll just run through some of the stuff she claimed. She claimed that she was texting a friend, these released from them, but she claimed essentially that she was being followed. Someone wanted her dead. Not Russia, but a U.S. domestic force wanted her out of some kind of
private organization.
She was being followed. She talked about how she sat at a window and she saw the outline. After she stepped away from the window, she saw the outline of her head. And she had an extreme migraine that day and believes she was being shot with a pain ray. She sent her friend pictures of her hands that were extremely red, but there could be a lot of reasons for that, claiming that they were burning and that someone was, again, shooting her with a pain ray, she believed. Texted about being followed in the subway.
Can you
and having to lose
elaborate on the
people.
outline of her head thing? What does that
Basically,
mean?
she was saying that she stepped away from the window and she saw like her outline. Like, you remember in like Hiroshima, and they got hit, they had like shadow, like that. Like, she saw the outline of her body was imprinted on her window where her head was, like something was being blasted at her head, probably nuclear, in her mind. She then also texts, and this is where the conspiracy theories really go. If I end up dead, I didn't kill myself. I didn't overdose on drugs. Do not believe them. This was a hit. She also made frequent references to a friend who wielded a katana that was a time traveler named Dan that she and frequently communicated.
Yeah.
I'm only bringing that up not to be funny. I like to be funny.
No, but it's a clear.
I'm stressing the fact that she, and again, not trying to like, I don't want to discredit her as a human being. No, we're not assuming
anything.
But she was not well.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
This is like, that is something that is so bonkers, and you can tell it's so crazy because I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. A person with a mind that is functioning like normal would not come up with that, and that is something that I don't take any joy in. I can't really find humor in it because it's sad.
So here's the thing about conspiracy theorists really like to harp on her anti-gravity research. But here's the thing, she never published anything. There's no indication that she made any kind of breakthrough in anti-gravity or any other kind of research. There's no evidence connecting her to NASA or JPL, again, other than her father working for them for a long time. I watched part of her last interview, and something that sort of stuck out to me is she was talking about how there are people like at NASA, at JPL, who had worked on these just sort of disruptive technologies. And she said they would build these things and they would turn them on and they would work just as they thought they would. But then NASA would take them and sell them for scrap. And they'd be scrapped and sold off. But that's an indicator that she doesn't know anything about how professional science works.
Right.
Well, again, capitalism, but professional science
in general.
Again, so for one, NASA does not spend millions or billions on things just to throw them away.
Their budget isn't even in the billion.
And if you did discover something like anti-gravity, imagine how much there is in that. There is no way you would. I don't believe it for a second.
Also, this whole people created this machine thing, there's a lot of grandiosity in the way she thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Typical of paranoid schizo.
That's not how it works. One person does not make something at NASA.
Right. It's a team.
That's actually a great point. I didn't even think of that.
It's a whole team of people.
Right. Just the bolts on a freaking spacecraft have dozens of people whose sole job it is to make those bolts.
We've seen Apollo 13. There's a bunch of guys in a room who are like, they're going to die. What do we do? Okay, grab the duct tape from here. You have this stuff here. They all get together. Like, what do they have on the ship? And they fix the problem. But that's how it works. Then.
Yes.
There's not like a scientist.
Like one guy building this giant like anti-gravity machine.
Yeah, they have specialists in every field at NASA because that's what it takes. Every part is designed by a team of dozens of people who only work on that part. That's all they do. Like the little copter on the Mars rover, that had probably multiple teams. But the people who worked on that copter, that is all they did for years. Like day and night.
As we said, she was found dead with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police have stated that there was nothing suspicious about the death. It was a pretty clear-cut suicide. Her family has basically gone on Facebook and asked people to stop putting her at the center of this conspiracy theory. They've, it's sad, really. They're like, so they're constantly now being reminded of their daughter's last moment.
Probably their
You know what I
worst day
mean?
they've
And
ever
yeah, the
lived.
worst, their daughter's worst days is what they're constantly being reminded.
And
It's unfortunate.
another thing I noticed about her in that interview, and this goes back to the sort of grandiosity and her mindset. She said that she could learn anything.
All of this is screaming like paranoid.
It could be another thing.
All of
It
it
could-
is like symptoms of it. You see it.
She
all
did.
the time.
She did have chronic pain. She might, again, speculation. She might have been self-medicating to deal with that chronic pain. This is the thing. As a society, in general, people vastly underestimate the effects that chronic pain can have on a person.
That's true. Well, yeah.
Lots of people commit suicide every year because of chronic pain.
Well, especially if you're living through delusions that people are after you. You're getting shot with a pain ray or whatever.
Well, and that's the problem was, I think, that she got into these fringe circles and they just fed into
Right.
whatever mental state she was in.
I mean,
Which happens to a lot
one
of
of her
different
close
people.
friends is the CEO at Geometric Energy Corporation, who works with
SpaceX.
SpaceX, and they named one of their trips that dropped a payload off near the moon to after her. But I mean, so she did have friends in this circle,
Yes.
but it's not. But
Yeah.
it was all because I mean, she lived in, like I said before, she lived in the area in Huntsville. You know,
Yeah, her
and I
dad
lived
was
in,
part of NASA.
and I lived in southern Mississippi for a while, and the NASA, you know, there. The office buildings there are pale in comparison to what Huntsville is. And like I said, it's the center of everyone works there, knows someone that works there. I was in a writing group with a guy who was a scientist there, like an actual physicist there. So it's just everyone, it becomes a hub for that community whenever those places exist.
But it's to, I know, because I was reading conspiracy and UFO subs about it, and they were like, you know, the symptoms she's describing are the exact symptoms of like ultrasonic weapons or whatever. And
What does that mean?
it's a post hoc fallacy.
Yeah.
Basically, the thing is, she was having these symptoms, and she knew all that stuff anyway. So she just found a mechanism
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
in that thing to explain her symptoms. That's why it lines up. I think she was an unwell woman who got pulled into this well of conspiracy theory stuff, and she just never made it out.
Right. And really quick, to kind of sum this whole thing up. We won't do this often on our shows,
No.
but I'm going to quote a Redditor from RUFO real quick. It's user, the man who done it. He writes, the U.S. has roughly 300,000 plus people with security clearances working in defense, aerospace, and national security adjacent sciences. If you expand that to everyone with the same connection to sensitive research, the number is even larger. So these 10 to 20 deaths and disappearances over a 3-year window across that population aren't that anomalous. It's not that weird, statistically speaking.
Yeah, and again, there is no, when you look closer, there is no pattern.